In this video, I am going to introduce a new chapter of chemistry, that is biomolecule. Biomolecule is a chapter that is not only in chemistry, but it is in standard 11 biology book also. And this chapter is important from board's point of view, standard 12 board point of view, because 10 to 12 marks question directly comes from this point. This chapter is important. Why? Because if you see the history of the chemistry or syllabus of the chemistry, then you find that chemistry has 3 branches. First is the physical chemistry, second is the organic chemistry, third is the inorganic chemistry. Physical chemistry, you have to study solution, chemical kinetics, electrochemistry, and last is the electrochemistry, solution, chemical kinetics chapter you have to study. And inorganic chemistry, you have to study extraction of metal, D block, F block, coordination compound. Organic chemistry, you have to study compounds having halogen group, compounds having alcohol group, compounds having aldehydes, ketones group, carboxyl groups. Apart from that, a separate small branch has been introduced in this book, that is biomolecule. So this chapter is important for those students who are not strong numerically, who are weak numerically, who have less commands on organic part, because organic chemistry is going to be very difficult. Then physical chemistry also, it is numerical part, and numericals is mandatory in the board exam. So you can score marks either using biomolecules or using inorganic chemistry. So that's why I have introduced this chapter, biomolecules, and I will explain all the information related with the board exams and competitive part also, how will the questions may be asked in the board and Neet Jee-Mains exam. So I am going to introduce biomolecules. A living system grows, sustains and introduces itself. The most amazing fact related with living organisms is it is composed of non-living, or you can say it is composed of atoms and molecules. Very important point, that when we are going to introduce about living things or living system, so living system has 2 parts, atoms, mind it, and molecules. Living system has some non-living parts also. So biochemistry is going to be very important part for the living things. Biochemistry deals what is going on chemically inside the living organism. Here chemistry means chemically and bio means living. So what is going on chemically inside the living organism, or you can say what goes chemically inside the living organism is called biochemistry. Or you can say it is also, you can say biochemistry is a biomolecules, basically we study in the branch of biochemistry. So biomolecules, in this branch we will focus on carbohydrates, we will focus on protein, nucleic acid, fats. That is very important information we have in biomolecules. What we are going to study? We are going to study about carbohydrates. We are going to study carbohydrates. We are going to study protein. We are going to study fat. This is nucleic acid. Don't forget, or you know that carbohydrate is the energy giving food. Very important information, that the work a living organism performs, that is with the help of carbohydrate only. So it is energy giving food. Protein is a body building food. It prepares the bones and muscles of the body. Fat is also energy giving food. It is also, we keep it in a category of energy giving food. But we use fat when there is a deficiency of carbohydrate in our body. When we are in the fast, on that time we are not using carbohydrates. On that time, fats is the ultimate source of energy. Nucleic acid, you know that there are two parts of nucleic acid, and you should know that DNA and RNA, it is the genetic material, that is the information that offspring carry from their parents. This is nucleic acid, this is chromosome. Chromosome is made up of nucleic acid only. Apart from that, we use vitamins also. Here, vitamins we are also going to use. We are going to use enzymes or minerals also, you can see. We are going to use minerals also. So all these are categorized in the branch of biomolecules. This is very important information, that is biomolecules. So we can say that biomolecules is the branch of chemistry. It is the branch of biochemistry in which we study about those compounds, those chemicals, those molecules, those organic compounds that are going to be useful in our body. After that, we have to focus here that first point that we need to focus, that is carbohydrate. Very important information. Carbohydrates, very important information. What is carbohydrates? So I have already explained one point. It is energy giving food. But the best thing about carbohydrate is that it is mainly produced by the plant. Primarily produced by the plants. So we can see the ultimate source of carbohydrate is, it is a plant. You can take examples of carbohydrate. Starch, then cellulose, then glycogen, then gum. All these are examples of carbohydrates. We can keep all these examples in the category of carbohydrates. Third important point about carbohydrate is that carbohydrates, from standard 5, 6 standard only we study that plants prepare their food with the help of photosynthesis. Here the plants are autotrophs. They fulfill the basic requirement of the food of the living organism. So actually plants prepare with the help of chlorophyll, and that chlorophyll, plants use chlorophyll, and that food is prepared by the plant in the form of glucose. So glucose, I will explain later what is the glucose, in which category we keep. And glucose is stored in the living plants, in the plants only, in the form of starch. And that starch is used by the plants for getting energy, for performing different work done, for maintaining its metabolism. And the remaining part of the starch is stored by the plants. So here one more important thing is there, carbohydrates. So we can say that it is hydrates of carbon also. Very important. Hydrates of carbon. Here, hydrates of carbon, that means if its formula is CH2OY. So here we have taken hydrate, H2O is a hydrate and C is the carbon. So we can say it is also called hydrates of carbon. For example, if you take example of glucose, then you can say like this. It is hydrate of carbon, so it is C6H12O6. Ethanoic acid, CH3COOH. It will fulfill this formula, mind it, but it is not a carbohydrate. It is an organic compound, organic acid. Not, it is, but not carbohydrate. Mind it. One more important compound, rhamnose. Rhamnose. It is C6H12O5. This is a carbohydrate, but it will not fulfill this formula. But generally we say that carbohydrates are those compounds, or what is the molecular formula of carbohydrates. If the question is there, then you must apply CxH2OY. But there are some exceptions. That exception also we need to follow it. After that, here the point is that some carbohydrates are, you can say that it gives a structural framework of the plant. Cell wall. We use, it is a cellulose, it is a carbohydrate. Whereas some carbohydrates are called sugar. Very, very important information, sugar. Sugar is a carbohydrate that is sweet in nature. And its most important example is cane sugar, C12H22O11. It is a sugar. It is sweet in taste. Second thing is milk sugar, that is lactose. Lactose is also a carbohydrate. Lactose is also a carbohydrate. It is milk sugar. So, some carbohydrates are classified as sugar. So, we can say that those carbohydrates which give sweetness to the plants, which give sweetness to the things that we use as a sugar. I will explain in detail which type of carbohydrates are categorized in this category, that is sugar, and which type of carbohydrates are called non-sugar. So, one by one I will explain in detail. After that, next part that we have to focus is the classification of the carbohydrate. How will you classify carbohydrates? Classification of the carbohydrates. So, we can classify carbohydrate into three categories. There are three categories in which we classify carbohydrates. First is a monosaccharide. Here one thing I want to explain. This saccharide has derived from Greek word that is saccharon. Saccharon, that is sugar. So monosaccharide. Second is the oligosaccharide. Oligosaccharides. And third one is the polysaccharide. Students, I am explaining these points in a detail, and I have selected this topic because this is useful for those students who are good in numericals or not good in numericals. Because this is very, very scoring paper. This part is going to be very, very important for you. If you check the previous year question, then you will find that from this chapter, from this branch, you will get direct question. There is no any confusion. Simple questions you will be asked from this branch. That's why I am suggesting you that board exam date sheet has already been come out, and you peoples are planning how to prepare, how to start preparation, how to take revision. So first I will suggest you that first you focus on biomolecules and inorganic chemistry, because inorganic chemistry 19 marks question from the D block, F block and coordination compound. 19 marks question will come. You check the previous year question, and from biomolecules 10 to 12 marks questions can be asked. So if you add 20 and 12, you will easily score the passing marks, and after that you focus physical chemistry, organic chemistry, that will be going to increase your percentage. So whenever students ask questions from me that means how will I take revision? So I say, Babu, first you focus how to pass. The first criteria, how to score, how to pass in chemistry. This is your first criteria. And for this you need to this branch, biomolecules and inorganic chemistry. After that, how will I increase my marks? That for that purpose you need physical chemistry, you need organic chemistry. So monosaccharides, there are about 20 monosaccharides are there. You can say that monosaccharides are those carbohydrates which cannot be hydrolyzed. Here one thing I want to say, that if we want to define what is carbohydrate, then you can say that carbohydrate is a optical active, very important information, optically active polyaldose or polyketones. That means in this compound you will get aldehyde group, you will see aldehyde group and you will see ketone groups, and that's why they will show some properties of aldehyde and ketone that I will explain in detail. So here monosaccharides is that cannot be hydrolyzed. This is the first information, they can't be hydrolyzed. That is, they are in stable form, or you can say that it is the monosaccharides that is the used to make bigger carbohydrates. That is disaccharides, polysaccharides, oligosaccharides. So what is the simplest unit of carbohydrate? That is the monosaccharide. And later on I will teach that for joining of two sugar, when we use the word sugar, that is glucose, that is fructose, I will explain in detail. So there is a glycosidic bond present to join two sugar. So it is the monosaccharide over there, the glycosidic bond is used to join to sugar molecule. I will explain when I will explain the ring structure of the glucose or cyclic structure of the glucose. So the first information, it cannot be hydrolyzed. So about 20 sugars are there, 20 carbohydrates are there, and the most popular, or you can say most famous carbohydrates are, the first is, you can say applicable, we cannot use famous, applicable carbohydrates are glucose, fructose and the ribose. Very important, this ribose is the RNA full form, I will explain, ribonucleic acid, ribose, or you can say deoxyribose also, deoxyribose, it is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. So deoxyribose is what is? This is the simplest sugar. This is the simplest sugar. And which type of sugar? It is monosaccharides. So don't forget that DNA and RNA, that I will explain later on. In DNA and RNA, we use sugar, and that sugar is monosaccharide. The fourth important point is that here monosaccharides, cannot be hydrolyzed. Some are sweet in nature. You can say they are providing sweet in nature. Like glucose, it presents in honey, it presents in fruits. Fructose is, we are also going to use fructose in the fruits also. After that, the next point that we have to focus, and fifth is the glycosidic bond. Glycosidic bond develop where? In this molecule only. That is two simplest sugar joined to form glycosidic bond. Second is the oligosaccharide. What is oligosaccharide? You can say that oligosaccharides means 2 to 10 monosaccharide. Very important information. 2 to 10 monosaccharides. If we are using two sugar, if we join two sugar collectively, they are called disaccharide. If we are going to use three sugar, trisaccharide, tetrasaccharides, like this. So disaccharides, the simplest oligosaccharide is the first is the disaccharide. important because in this disaccharide we are going to use sucrose, cane sugar. We are going to use lactose. We are going to use maltose. So you can say that if two sugars are joined with the help of glycosidic bond, questions may be asked in which compound glycosidic bond is present. You remember it is carbohydrates. To join carbohydrates we need glycosidic bond. To join amino acid we use peptide bond, whereas to join nucleic acid we use another bonds, H bond, phosphates bond, that is phosphodiester bond. I will explain in detail when I will teach this topic. So what is the first information of disaccharide is in this category we keep first is the sucrose, second is the maltose, and third one is the lactose. Lactose is called milk protein. Maltose, sucrose is called cane sugar. So the information here, one more information is that one thing I am here missing that I want to explain in detail, classification. I have not classified carbohydrates. How carbohydrates are classified, that is very important. So just I want to give that information first, then I will explain this process. Very important information. Sorry for introducing this part late, but this is very important information, that how will you classify carbohydrates? Classification of carbohydrates. Here I have explained the classification that I have given, that is on the basis of hydrolysis. This is on the basis of hydrolysis. On the basis of hydrolysis we can classify carbohydrate as a monosaccharide, oligosaccharide and polysaccharide. On the basis of first classification on the basis of hydrolysis, very important. Sorry, I have introduced this topic later on the basis of classification. So on the basis of hydrolysis, we can classify carbohydrate as monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and third is the polysaccharides. Second is on the basis of reduction, very important information, on the basis of reduction. Here we use two type of sugar, two type of carbohydrate. One is the reducing carbohydrates, and on the basis other is non-reducing carbohydrates. And one more information, that is on the basis of number of carbon atoms, and third is on the basis of number of carbon atoms. Very important. So the first part is that hydrolysis, monosaccharide, oligosaccharide, polysaccharide. Second part is on the basis of reduction part, that is reducing carbohydrate or reducing sugar or non-reducing sugar. This is very important. Here you will get question in the board exam. Very important. So actually why I have introduced this part, because here sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. It is a non-reducing sugar. I will explain what is meaning of this. Whereas lactose and maltose are reducing sugar. So I will explain in detail, but just you have to know that carbohydrates, oligosaccharides, in this category I have kept first disaccharides is more important, because disaccharides are made up of two simplest sugar, two sugars. Now this sugars here, the are different. You can see that here we use different monosaccharides. For example, sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose. So here two different types of sugars we are using. So we can say that in disaccharides we can use similar type of sugar or different types of sugar. Suppose you are going to use maltose. It will break to two molecules of glucose only. So similar sugar, similar monosaccharide, glucose and glucose. Whereas lactose, when we are going to use, we can say it is glucose plus galactose. So you can say that disaccharides are a type of oligosaccharides where we are using two sugars. That two sugars may be same or it may be different. Here one thing also I want to say that this I will explain reducing or non-reducing sugar. Let me first introduce polysaccharides. So all these are information about disaccharide. Next is what is polysaccharides. How will you classify polysaccharides? So you can say that polysaccharides are those sugars where many monosaccharides, its number is not countable. So you can say if large number of monosaccharides are going to be used, it is called polysaccharide, many polysaccharides. My attempt is that you get clear board. You can understand my working part, my board part. I am trying best for that. So polysaccharides, actually this part is not good, but I am trying to do my best so that you don't will have any problem. So the first is the polysaccharide. So it has many sugars, many monosaccharides. Here starch, it is a polysaccharides. Cellulose is a polysaccharide. Gum is a polysaccharide. Glycogen is a polysaccharide. Here many monosaccharides are joined with the help of symbol glycosidic bond. What is starch structure I will explain in detail, but first let me explain what is polysaccharides. So here polysaccharides are the combination of many monosaccharides, or they will break to give monosaccharides. After that, the next classification that I have used on the basis of reduction, we have what is reduction that I have already explained in my previous video. So here just I want to come on topic that we have classified carbohydrate as reducing sugar and non-reducing sugar. So I have already explained that carbohydrates are optically active polyaldose or polyketones. If you see the structure of glucose, this is the structure of glucose. Here, there is a free aldehyde group. CHO it is CHO. Here, free aldehyde group. This is very, very important information. Free aldehyde. And we know that aldehydes, when I will explain organic chemistry and then I will teach that aldehydes give two tests, Fehling test, tolerance test. Very, very important, silverware test. So actually these aldehydes are free, and due to this free aldehydes, it gives tolerance test and Fehling's test. So those carbohydrates which are giving tolerance test, and what is tolerance test you have to see when you want to go in detail, then in the organic chemistry you'll get, and then what is the Fehling's test. Here when we see the structure, then we find that some carbohydrates are giving tolerance test and Fehling test. They are called reducing carbohydrate, whereas some carbohydrates are not giving this tolerance test and Fehling's test, and they are called non-reducing sugar. So here all monosaccharides, mind it, all monosaccharides are kept in the categories of reducing sugar. Glucose, it has free aldehyde. Fructose, it has free ketones. So due to presence of free aldehyde in ketonic group, they are showing the behavior of reducing sugar. But there are some disaccharide also that they are giving this test, and in this category we keep lactose and maltose. So you can say that lactose and maltose are showing reducing sugar. They are showing the behavior of reducing sugar because they have free aldehyde groups, or you can say that these groups are present. Whereas sucrose is a non-reducing sugar because here aldehyde groups are not free. In glucose, sucrose is combination of glucose and fructose. So over there bond formation takes place. There is no free aldehyde in ketonic groups. That's why it does not show the properties of reducing sugar. So this is the second information. One more thing I want to inform about polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are not, or they are considered in the categories of non-sugar. I have already explained that some carbohydrates are called sugar. So when we use the word sugar, that is for monosaccharides or disaccharides, or you can say oligosaccharides. But polysaccharides are not considered as sugar because they will not show the property of sugar, that is sweet nature. So this is very, very important information. From here you will get question in the exam. Then what is reducing? Select the reducing sugar from the among the following options. Be careful, from the disaccharide, sucrose is the only sugar that will not show the property of reducing property, whereas lactose and maltose are disaccharide, will show the property of reducing sugar. After that, the third classification, on the basis of carbon, we will classify carbohydrates. We will classify. So for this I have made number of carbons and their naming. How will you classify carbohydrates? Suppose number of carbon. Here for this I have used one table. I have prepared for this something. One is the different types of monosaccharides for this classification on the basis of carbon. Number of carbon, general terms, then aldehyde group. If aldehyde is present, then what is its name? And if ketone is present, then what is its name? Suppose if the carbon is 3, it is called triose. Very, very important. If carbon is 4, it is called tetrose. If carbon is 5, it is called pentose. If carbon is 6, it is called hexose. And if carbon is 7, it is called heptose. And for 3 carbon, if aldehyde is produced, that is called aldotriose. Here, aldoketose. Ketotriose. This is ketotriose. actually third carbon is not so important. 4 is the, then we can use aldo tetrose. Here keto tetrose. This is very important. When we will teach nucleic acid, pentose sugar. This is very important. So it is aldo pentose. Or this is aldo ketose. This is very important. Hexose, glucose and fructose. Both are categorized in the category of. So we can say it is aldo hexose. So what is another name of glucose? Glucose is a aldohexose. What is another name of fructose? It is called, here aldopentose and ketopentose. Here aldohexase, it is ketohexose. So you can say that what is glucose? So glucose is the aldohexose. Very important information. Glucose is a monosaccharide. Glucose is the simplest sugar. Glucose is a reducing sugar. And what is ketone? That is fructose. You can say fructose is the ketohexose. Fructose is a ketohexose. It is a monosaccharide. Again, molecular formula you can easily calculate. If you want to molecular formula, then C3H2O here 3. Then C4 like hydrates of. So this formula, the hydrates of carbon, that is applicable in the monosaccharides only. So all these information I have given related with carbohydrates, and from this many questions has been given in the NCERT book. I want to just give 1-2 information. For example, the first question, for my point of view, for my expectation, NCERT is the best book. So, for example, one question is given, what are the expected product of hydrolysis of lactose? I have already given lactose gives glucose and galactose. One more questions, that is very important. This is very what are monosaccharide? You can say it is the simplest sugar. Monosaccharides are reducing sugar. Monosaccharides are aldohexose or aldoketose. Any information you can write. What are reducing sugar? I have already explained. Reducing sugars are those sugar which gives tolerance test, which gives Felix test. Actually, these groups have free aldehydes and ketonic group. They have free aldehyde functional group. They have free ketonic functional group. That's why they are. Then what are the two main functions of carbohydrate in plants? Carbohydrates is the store food in the plants. Starch is the store food in the plant. And second is cellulose is the cell wall of the plants. Mind it, plants store food in the form of starch. And animals store carbohydrate in the form of glycogen. The glucose that we take, if we have excess of glucose in our body, then that glucose we store in the form of glycogen. Third question, write two main functions of carbohydrate in plants. The first it gives structural framework and second it is used for the storage of the food. Here classify the following into monosaccharide and disaccharide. Ribose, 2-deoxyribose, maltose, galactose, fructose and lactose. So here maltose and lactose, except maltose and lactose, all are monosaccharides. Then what do you understand by term glycosidic linkage? You can say glycosidic linkage are the linkage which are used to join two or more than two monosaccharides to simplest sugar. After that, what is glycogen? How it is different from starch? So you can say that glycogen is a type of polysaccharide. It is a carbohydrate. Starch is also a carbohydrate, but glycogen is the store food in the animals, whereas starch is the store food in the plants. After that, here hydrolysis product of sucrose. Sucrose will hydrolyze to give glucose and fructose, and lactose will hydrolyze to give glucose and galactose. Then what is the basic structural difference between starch and cellulose? That structural form I will explain when I will explain polysaccharide in detail, the structure of polysaccharide in detail. So I hope whatever information I have given, this information is going to be very important for you, because I have already explained that to pass in the board exam, chemistry in the exam, chemistry paper, this is going to be very important. Biomolecules, straightforward question will get. Inorganic chemistry, straightforward question will get. And then to score good marks, organic and physical chemistry going to play an important role. So in the next video, I will continue this part, and in this part I will explain a structure of the glucose, a structure of the fructose. How will we come to conclusion that glucose has 6 carbon, its open chain structure, its cyclic structure than polysaccharides. Thank you.